Grace and peace to you in the name of Jesus Christ, our risen Lord. My name is Dustin Petz, and I have the joy of serving as the president and CEO of the Kansas Methodist Foundation. And this video is just to give a bit of an introduction to the investment ministry that we provide Methodist churches, organizations, and agencies across Kansas. The Kansas Methodist Foundation began 60 years ago. Was started by the two conferences in Kansas, largely to be a caretaker of legacy gifts and to be a trusted investment partner for our churches. We're a not-for-profit. We work for the purpose of helping grow resources for ministry, to help churches be good stewards of the resources that have been entrusted to them and to use their resources well and wisely to make a difference in the world around us. About 5 years ago, we went through a RFP process to reassess our investment partner and decided to move our investments to Wespath Institutional Investments. They're, as you'll find out, another Methodist partner and really have alignment with values that we have of seeking to be a fiduciary and to be a partner to grow resources for ministry. I keep being reminded of John Wesley saying that the three rules are do no harm, do good, and stay in love with God. And the calling that we have to do that with our resources. And so we've moved our partnership to Wespath. They do the investment work, and we're kind of the front relationship with churches. And it's my joy to introduce Karen Mansko of Wespath, who helps us really do this work of transforming lives, changing lives, transforming the world around us, and helping us as people of faith live out our faith with our resources, to be a blessing as we have been blessed, and to grow resources for ministry. And it's a great joy to have Karen, for you to join with us and to talk more about Wespath and the ministries that you bring.
Great. Thank you, Dustin. Thank you for that introduction. And hello, everyone. Before diving in and talking about the foundation funds and the performance, I wanted to provide an overview regarding Wespath, our investment philosophy, and talk about some of the investment managers that we've hired to manage the investment strategies that are included in our multi-manager investment funds. So Wespath is a nonprofit subsidiary of the general agency Wespath Benefits and Investments. We are an independent, self-funded agency of the United Methodist Church, and we have been around and have served the church for over 100 years. We are recognized as the largest known faith-based investor of plan assets, with over $26 billion in assets under management. And the importance of that $26 billion in assets under management is that we can use this scale to invest in world-class investment managers and strategies and offer them to our clients through investing in our multi-manager fund vehicles at a competitive fee. We're also a leader in sustainable investing. And we do this because we not only believe it will create a better world for us to live in, but we believe it's going to create better long-term value for our investors. And this is important to us as a fiduciary. The advantage of working with Wespath and the foundation is that the foundation, Dustin and his team, they provide that local client service support because they understand the unique needs of their investors and potential investors. And in turn, the foundation invests those assets with Wespath. And we strive to deliver long-term competitive performance through, again, our multi-manager fund vehicles. So through investing with the foundation, you not only get access to areas of the market or individual investment managers that would be difficult, if not impossible, to access on a standalone basis, but it often makes sure that you can confidently ensure that your investments are in alignment with the values of the United Methodist Church. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a moment. So before I talk about these diversified multi-manager funds, which I keep kind of teasing you in my prior comments, I want to discuss Wespath's 5 investment beliefs and some of the external investment managers that we work with. And on this slide that Dustin's showing, you can see the 5 investment beliefs. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but I really want to highlight a few that speak directly to our investment philosophy and how we manage and work with our investors. So first and foremost, you've heard this word about 4 or 5 times now, fiduciary focus. Our investment activities must support the financial well-being of our participants and the mission of our institutional investors. You all are at the forefront of everything that we do. Myself and the team that we have, we wake up every day to manage assets on behalf of the United Methodist Church. We also have a very long-term, diversified perspective to the markets. We've seen a lot in the markets this past year, this past 5 years since COVID. And when it comes to market volatility, areas of the market that are doing well and not doing well, and then that shifting, day over day. We believe that over the long term, markets tend to revert back to long-term averages. So it's really important that you maintain that long-term disciplined approach to investing. Try not to be market timers, because that's exactly how we think of investing our assets on behalf of our investors. And then the last one I'll highlight is sustainability. Our integration of sustainability really honors the mission, vision, and the values of the United Methodist Church. We intentionally integrate sustainable investing because we believe it is going to create long-term value to our investors. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about this following at the conclusion of my presentation. Looking at this next slide, you can see on this slide some of the investment managers that we work with, and we invest in well-known names in the investment management industry. JP Morgan, Northern Trust, PIMCO, very well-known names in the industry. And one thing I want to note is that these are not mutual funds that you can get off the shelf through your local broker, but these are custom strategies that we have hired these world-known investment firms to manage on behalf of our investors. So this is something you're not able to get elsewhere. They've created specialized and customized strategies for us. Focusing on that middle slide, per the last thing that I highlighted, we integrate sustainable investing into our investment funds. And these strategies really seek to maximize the opportunities and minimize the risks that are associated with this transition to a low carbon economy. And then finally, we also seek to invest in qualified investment firms that are women and minority owned. We currently have over $1.2 billion invested in these firms. And this is a strategy, and these are investment firms that we didn't make part of our investment strategy in the last 5 years, but these are investment firms that we have held in our portfolio since 1994. So again, these are very long-term investment strategies and managers that we have had as part of our investment funds that we offer to our clients. If you want to look at the next slide, this highlights our diversified fund offering. So again, I highlighted this diversified multi-manager funds. So we work closely with the foundation to construct diversified investment funds, customized investment funds that the foundation offers to their investors. And again, it is utilizing each of these funds or majority of these funds that are listed on this slide for you today. Again, the main call out for this page is that it really showcases the level of diversification the foundation investment funds offers to their investors. And then the final section before I'll turn it back over to Dustin is I want to highlight our sustainable investment program and how we incorporate the values of the United Methodist Church into our investments. Paragraph 717 asks us to discharge our fiduciary duty solely in the interest of our participants with care, skill, prudence, and diligence. But it also asks us to make a conscious effort to invest with the goals outlined in the church. And our investment strategy is really an intersection between these two directives, and where we want to make sure that we are also placing our fiduciary duty on top of all of the management of our investment funds. And the framework that we use, which is invest, engage, and avoid. And this is how we implement our sustainable investment strategies. In that invest pillar, this is where we deploy capital to earn a competitive rate of return. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a moment. The middle piece is the engage. And this is where we use our voice as a large shareholder to encourage companies to adopt sustainable business practices. And this is where that a lot of companies can avoid some of those unintended risks that they may have regarding where they are sourcing their products from, what are their, how are they managing their human capital, and so forth. So this is where we use our voice as a large owner in these companies to encourage them to be more sustainable. And again, we not only do that because we think it's the right thing to do, but we believe that companies that are more sustainable are going to deliver better competitive long-term portfolio results to us. And again, that's important to us as a fiduciary. And then the final piece is the avoid. And this is where we really bring in that values of the church. And this is where we avoid investing based on a company's core business practice. And so we avoid investing in companies whose core business is around alcohol beverages, tobacco, adult entertainment, private prisons, weapons delivery systems, and also gambling. I'll go back to that invest pillar on this next slide, as I said I would. Part of our investment strategy is through investing through a strategy that is called our Positive Social Purpose Lending Program. And this is an internally managed program that demonstrates that investors can do well by utilizing and using their money to improve the lives of others. This is where we invest in community development properties, low-income housing, tax credits, and so forth. And we do this because it delivers us a competitive rate of return to our investors, and simultaneously, it provides a benefit to those individuals and those communities that need community development or housing for low-income individuals. Through our program, it was launched in 1990. We've invested over $2 billion across this program. And again, it's one of the best performing investment mandates that are part of our multi-manager funds. On this next slide, I mentioned the engage piece, where we use our voice as a large shareholder to encourage companies to adopt sustainable business practices. And there's a lot on this slide, and I would love to go through all of it, but I'm just going to highlight a few for you. Some of you have heard about our engagement efforts with the pharmaceutical industry, specifically as it relates to opioids. We've joined forces with the Investors for Opioid and Pharmaceutical Accountability Working Group. And really, this is a coalition of institutional investors that represent over $4 trillion in assets under management. And one thing that this coalition does is that it engages the drug manufacturers, distributors, and pharmacies on the risks of opioids to society, the economy, and also shareholder value, which is important to us. Our engagements with these companies really focus on workplace safety protocols, board governance and independence, and obviously compensation plans. We are working with these companies on creating an opioid disclosure report, which allows us information regarding opioid-related risks from these distributors, manufacturers, and also retailers. So we're really using our voice as a large shareholder in the pharmaceutical industry to really focus on opioids, but also the pharmaceutical industry as a whole, making sure that drugs are affordable, accessible, and getting in the hands of those that need them. Another engagement story that I will highlight is our work with Hershey. Hershey, as everyone knows, is a really large distributor of chocolate. And one thing that we learned with Hershey is that they were sourcing their cocoa from an area in West Africa, which supplies about 70% of the world's cocoa, that had hazardous working conditions, child labor. It also had a practice put in place that created a middle person in place of the farmer and the worker, and where a lot of those proceeds that needed from the cultivation of the cocoa plants that wasn't getting into the hands of the farmer, but it was hitting in this middle person that was receiving a lot of the profits that should have been received by the farmer. So we joined forces with United Women in Faith and other institutional investors, and used our voice to encourage Hershey to consider adopting fair trade cocoa. And again, the reason fair trade cocoa was such a great thing for them to adopt is that, again, it prevents child labor. It looks at the working conditions of the farmers, and then it also removed some of it removed that middle person that would receive a lot of the profits that would normally be had by the farmer. And through our work with Hershey and having our seat at the table as a large owner in their stock, we asked Hershey to consider offering an area of the U.S., a chocolate that would be 100% fair trade to see what kind of response they get. Because a lot of the engagement with these companies is all about profits. To be more sustainable, and likely it's going to take some profits from those companies. So we told Hershey to offer a line of cocoa that would be 100% fair trade to see what kind of response they got. And with our dialogue, they launched the Bliss line of chocolate, which used to be in a really pretty purple wrapper. But they got such a resounding and positive response from launching this cocoa that they said that they will source 100% of their cocoa to be fair trade. And this was all because of the dialogue that two Methodist entities had with Hershey to get them to completely change where they were sourcing their cocoa from in the world. And then to wrap up before I turn it back over to Dustin, really, again, the advantage of working with the foundation at Wespath is that the foundation understands the unique needs of their investors, and they provide a tremendous amount of support services that Dustin will highlight here in a moment, that not only is going to help you create better long-term performance results for your investments, but also help you grow your congregation, make it thriving, be a resource for you in all of the capacity that you may need. And in return, the foundation invests those assets with Wespath, in which we strive to deliver long-term competitive returns. Also, the only way for you to confidently ensure that your investments are aligned with church values is through investing with the foundation and with Wespath. So with that, I will turn it back over to you, Dustin.
Thank you so much, Karen. Yes, the benefits that we bring really are the investment expertise and specialty that Karen and the Wespath team make available. Our board of trustees discern what are some of the best options for our partners, and then we make that available. Some of the other benefits, in addition to sustainable and socially responsible investing, is the sub-accounting work. So we can help churches if they have multiple accounts with multiple time horizons or risk tolerances. We can make different asset allocations for those different funds, make distributions, and help provide that sub-accounting functions. One of the other benefits I like is because Wespath is so large, we can provide fairly significant liquidity to be able to pull the funds when you need them. And we can ACH the funds to the church, and you can have the resources you need to do the different projects or ministries that you're about. Or we can set up an automatic distribution plan so that we distribute a sustainable percentage on an annualized basis. Our sub-accounting system will provide a lot of those features that will be helpful. And that's in addition to the other ministries that we do to help bring about greater diversity, greater generosity for our families and for our church to be good stewards of the resources. We make grants available. We do education trainings for pastors and congregation members. We approve scholarships for sending people to seminary or others to go to the school for secondary education that they might be a part of beyond secondary education. One of the things that I've come to appreciate a great deal that we can bring to our churches is helping with donor development, helping the families in your organization, you're connected to your agency or your church to grow in their relationship with God through the generosity of their resources. We've developed this Putting Your House in Order program. We have an estate specialist attorney that can work. We have these different tools to help people grow in their faithfulness with their resources and to be generous with them. It's kind of a holistic package that we bring to the table for the purpose of investment and for the purpose of us helping be the best stewards we can of the resources entrusted to us. Friends, we would love the opportunity to talk about how we could serve you and help you in your journey of the ministry that God has called you to be about. Karen, I'm grateful for you and the relationship that we have and the work that Wespath provides for the Kansas Methodist Foundation and to our various partners. Thank you for who you are and the work that we get to be a part of. If you'd like to learn more, we would love to share more about this ministry that we offer for our partners. I pray blessings upon you this day. Thank you so much.